Okay, all right. I don't know if this was the broken adapter or if I brought over two adapters.
Yeah.
So
that's like me with guitar cables. It's like, was this the bad one? It's like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna ask, Garage League as a band, how well you keep up with broken equipment versus equipment that's working. And what is the need that we have, that we feel, to hang on to broken things if one day we're going to fix them?
I don't know. Ask those guys. I don't know.
Aren't you the one with the guitar that
guitars?
That continuously, mysteriously cuts out.
Have intermittent cutting out problems?
He switched out everything.
But I swear, it's,
You have the haunted,
it's not one of the
except the
guitars.
guitar.
the haunted guitars.
Even when he switches out the guitars, it still cuts out.
It
It's
could
the
be
weirdest
three
thing.
guitars, even the Les Paul doing it.
Like switched out every pedal on the pedal board.
I think
every
it's how you have your
cable.
Then I
guitars.
switched one back, and then I got a weird clanking noise, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well, I like that sound, but it's not useful." So
I think it's your amp's way of saying
think it's
I
the way
can't
I
take
play.
it anymore.
maybe I just cut out
Your amp is like, this is too high pitched.
too much treble.
Stop.
Maybe.
Hey,
Stun guitar.
Stun guitar.
that's the one thing. It's funny that I feel like we really skipped an important step in this whole recent development of like artificial intelligence starting to enter the creative space. You think that, there would have been a process where they could have just like made an amp that does all of the work for you.
Oh yeah,
Or maybe that does exist.
probably.
And I just don't know,
Yeah.
or like have the money for it.
So if that's what you mean about keeping up, then I don't keep up with that stuff.
It like they do it, but not analog. Like there's not an analog side of it. It's all modeling like in the computer.
Yeah.
Like they have amp modeling that like
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and then you
create-
get one.
No,
of
I mean,
the-
something like a little bit more rudimentary. Like you plug your guitar into it and it's just like good or bad. Like it tells
Right.
you for you.
Yeah.
you suck or you don't.
Yeah. To make it like a little less obvious that like a computer's involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be sort of like the musical version of Clippy. You old enough to remember Clippy on the computer? It's
Like the Microsoft
It
motherfucker.
sounds like
you
you're
seem
trying
to be trying to replicate D Boone's sound. Can I turn the bass down for you? Yes, thank you, Clippy.
It sounds like you're trying to play mid-90s Midwest emo. Can I
Please stop doing that. There's been enough.
I have no suggestions.
Or it could be like, we recognize the song that you're trying to write has been written 4,216 times.
Yes.
Oh,
For examples of these, click here.
And
Right.
it changes it automatically.
yeah,
sounds
we
like
like
you're-
that.
it
Yeah.
sounds like you're trying to rewrite Basket Case
Yes.
by Green Day.
Oh yeah,
Again.
or if you play ska, it'll take the stops out. It'll just sound like you're strumming instead of going chink chink chink. It's
Yeah.
like it'll just sound like a strum.
It sounds like you're trying to take cool Caribbean music and turn it into polka again.
Again.
Well,
That was for you, Gert.
well, everybody, Garage League is on the show today. Make some noise for the internet, my friends.
Woo!
Thank you.
Yay
you,
me!
Hooray, internet.
Yet another band of delinquents that have probably entered my life thanks to Paul Neal through one way or another.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Paul.
thanks, Paul. Go fuck yourself. I'm gonna put this record right there.
Oh, I wore the wrong hat. I
You can
was gonna
kind of
wear
see it,
my-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. Oh wait, maybe we could do. Like
Oh, see?
there we go. That works.
Beautiful.
Couldn't be
Garage
better.
League's on the show. They have some music there pressed to wax. Got three handsome, young, and
Especially Derek.
faces made for high definition here in the
Yeah.
house. Thanks
Faces
for being
made for radio.
That's very generous. Very generous of you.
Please enable image smoothing.
Speaking of AI,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, I could like put on this filter that turns us into like anime
yeah.
type,
Oh,
like sparkly,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Bring out the
anime.
bags under my eyes.
Whatever you got in your arsenal
Yeah,
would be appreciated.
Do me up like Sailor Moon. That'd be great.
you got it.
Yeah. Put some
Yeah.
hair on me.
Some pigtails.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That'd be so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
So, for everyone out there that is not familiar with Garage League, I would say you are a three-piece rock, somewhat, I'd say punk / grunge adjacent band. I don't know how you want to describe yourselves or
No
what
grunge.
No grunge?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
John's got opinions.
Yeah. Post-punk. Yeah. That pretty much sums it up.
Well, I guess a lot of what I would consider to be grunge is probably technically post-punk in some ways. It just got slapped with a new hip label in the 90s.
It got sleepy.
Sure, I think I'm not thinking like the slacker side of like
okay.
grunge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, who gives a fuck
that's
about
the
a
only
label?
side I know of grunge.
You're a rock and roll band. Well, not rock and roll, but a rock band.
Yeah, rock. We don't really roll much.
Yeah.
Not
It's true.
anymore. Yeah.
Not a lot of swing.
Yeah. No swinging.
Yeah. Or
We tend to cut our songs off as soon as we get into like a groove.
yeah.
So it's like, 1 minute, 15 seconds is usually the limit. And we're like, no, if we keep playing that, we're going to start swinging it. We don't want to do that. So just stop now while it's still awkward and we're done. And it's like, perfect.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We're ahead of the beat instead of behind the beat.
Yeah.
So yeah. All
Well,
rock.
we
no
try
roll.
to be,
Yeah.
but the beat is really pretty fast with Derek because he's got an awful lot of energy.
Just getting it out while I can. I guess.
Still a growing boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's very propulsive. And I don't know. I guess maybe you hear that part as far as the grunge you're talking about, because I guess like a lot of those grunge drummers were really pounding it out.
Sure.
I think like if you're looking at beat style, maybe there's something like, the way I play the drums on like Dinosaur Dreams or something. And the chorus part is a little bit of a, grungy style beat.
Well, this is what we run into is that people are like, what kind of music you play? And we're like, fucking music. I don't know. We start naming bands. So it's like kind of post-punk, post-hardcore. And then you get into like slicing up punk rock as fine as you want into sub genres. And it gets like, then you start sounding like frickin' Robert Christgau or whoever, and it's like, that you just sound like a nerd, So like we have trouble coming up with these names for it. We get called angular.
Angular comes up a lot. Yeah. And that's one of those things you don't know you're doing it, It's like, when I first met my wife, she was like asking me about those faces I keep making. And I'm like, what faces? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm sitting there, and I don't know I'm doing that. And it's like with playing guitar, it's the same way. Then you have to try to look back and be like, what do they mean? They keep saying angular. I'm like, oh, I guess because, instead of grooving from one chord to the other, I just cut that first chord in half and then splice it into the other one. I'm like, oh, okay. It's got kind of an angle to it,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I think that, when I'm listening to music in general now, I find myself, just not being so concerned about like what kind of music this is and more just like what is like the energy of what's going on, and I would say that like the majority of the stuff that I've heard from Garage League has been like up tempo. Mm-hmm. If I had to put if gun to my head, give me one genre to put on it, I'd put punk on it. But I think that there's like sprinkles of other things in there.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's funny because even something like punk has been kind of like, what is punk rock anymore? What is rock anymore? For me, like anything that is like reasonably like loud and like somewhat counterculture is punk.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be like the, I guess like what we would call like the shopping mall personification of what like punk rock became.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like the Sex Pistols iPhone case that I could buy at half price books.
Yeah.
There's something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Than where it still exists.
Yeah. Punk's like an outfit now. Like it's a uniform now as far as, I don't know. And you could have said the same thing in like 1982. People did say the same thing in 1982.
Oh yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's always been dead. My grad school self says like, it's always already been dead. It was dead on arrival, except that's already a band name.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that it's like more about, not to get like too corny too quick, but I think like the
I already
idea,
went there.
I think like punk is something that more, like more exists like with the intent behind why the music is being created.
Well, yeah, I mean, people make a list of like the best punk albums ever, and things on there are like London Calling. It's like, well, where are the punk songs on that album? And it's like, Rudy Can't Fail, or
Brand New Cadillac is like,
yeah,
that could have been on a Gene Vincent record.
yeah. But most of the musically, you wouldn't call it punk.
Sure,
the Card Sheet a punk song. It's weird, but it's like what you said. That's exactly what it is. It fits the description perfect.
yeah, I think that like
Same with like the Minutemen.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
and I think that there's also too stuff that has happened in like the past, couple of decades that like stems more from maybe like an electronic background or like hip hop or something like that, that like aesthetically is like way more punk rock than a lot of stuff that people would like classify typically as punk rock. Anyways, what are you trying to do as a band? What do you think?
Just have fun.
Cool.
Just make music. It's, it's been doing it our whole life. So, it's just something in you, you want to do it, and, you enjoy the process, every bit of it from the start. Like a song we were saying before, I like how you feel when you go into a session where you're practicing or whatever, you come up with something, you build on it, and you do that throughout that practice and the next one. And we have songs that we're still adding to or changing, from years ago,
Sure.
So that's the kind of thing I love, like the making of the songs and the final result, like on the record.
Yeah. I think that it's a lot of fun to be able to like get together and make art and make music. For me, like the creation of it is always like the best part.
Yeah.
I've always had like a really bad habit of like, not doing the thing that I guess you're air quotes supposed to do as a band, where you like record a record and like make videos and promote it properly and like try to bother getting people to review it and all this stuff. Like as soon as like before the record's even out, I'm like, oh, let's just make the next one.
Yeah.
I don't even like, obviously I like playing shows and things like that. But there's just like, there's that idea of like, when is a song done? It's like so weird to like put something out and be like, oh, that's it. But I know that like you've recorded songs multiple times, because I think there was like the dinosaur song that you brought up, right? Was that song recorded the multiple different times on your Spotify, or was there another track? There was another track. There's another track, I think, too, that I saw that there was like different versions of on your Spotify. So it's like, it's cool to just like be able to just be like, you know what, like this song has evolved, or like maybe we have an opportunity to record it in like a different quality or something. And just like, why not just like put it back out? It's still like a part of like who we are now currently. So why not do it?
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to get like caught up in this thing. Before we started recording this episode, we were actually joking about like how the last time you did an interview and you were like wearing the same sweater.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if somebody notices that, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of the same thing, where it's like, if somebody notices that you re-recorded a song, that's a good thing. I mean, somebody's actually paying attention and seeing what you're doing instead of just being.
So thank you.
Oh, hey.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, I try to do my best if somebody's coming on, especially people I don't know.
Sounds like shit. Somebody looked at the Spotify. You're the one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm your one monthly listener.
Yeah.
No, you have some people on there.
We get a few.
We're double digits, or
Yeah. And I mean, like, honestly, like that's like, it's like a realistic thing.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing that's like wrong with that. That's like normal. I'd much rather have like a conversation with some people that are like recording music, putting it out, and like maybe they have like, a couple dozen Spotify listeners. That makes sense. Versus like somebody I've never heard of coming in here. And it's like, oh, okay, so you have 2,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. How's that happening?
Yeah.
I
wonder about some of that.
There's a lot of sorcery related to American currency that one can sprinkle out on the internet to make things magically happen.
So it looks a lot better.
Yeah. For me, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And like, that's still like, I mean, I have no like ego when it comes to my own personal work.
Mhm.
And just thinking about the fact that like, oh, you mean there's a couple dozen people that are regularly listening to my music? That's insane
Yeah.
to me to think about.
That
you
is
know?
true. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I never really think about it like that.
like yeah, you know, it's like the same thing with this podcast where it's like, oh, okay, you know, like there's like the big podcasts that, you know, they put out an episode and it has like 20,000 downloads. And like, you know, my episodes get on, you know, it might get a couple hundred.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. It's like if we were recording this podcast right now with a couple hundred people in the room, we'd be like, this is fucking insane.
Yes.
yeah.
So just like it's like
yeah.
it's like scaling
I'd stage dive.
and yo, let's do the first live podcast with stage diving. Paul,
Yeah,
we're
Paul,
hitting
you
you up.
make it happen.
Ormsby, we'll figure it out. But
I should have worn that hat.
Yes.
but yeah, so you know, there's a lot to be said about all of that stuff. We really kind of got sidetracked really quickly there. It's a
Yeah.
podcast, go figure.
Yeah.
So Garage League, how long has the band been active? Because I imagine that Spotify's not going to tell me everything that I need to know in regards to the history of the band.
I got a lot of help from Facebook yesterday. I got one of those, you know, Facebook memories. So 4 years ago, I posted a photo of me playing at an open stage at, what's that theater called?
The Oaks.
The Oaks.
The Oaks in Oakmont.
Yeah, we played at open stage night and we did like 3 or 4 songs. I think it was kind of a test to see if I could play guitar and sing at the same time because I'd never done that before.
Mm.
And I watched the tape and I'm like, okay, that works.
Yeah.
It's not what I'd call good, but it works.
And it,
I
and
can
it
do
gave
it.
us a good story.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a good story.
My brother-in-law, Nino, took a picture of us while we were playing because the people sitting in front of him had their fingers in their ears like this.
So it's us back there.
And so you
foreground
could see
is
us
this.
in the background playing and people shadows like this.
Hell yeah.
And we are like, that is perfect.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
It was
Yeah,
amazing.
that's great.
So that was the first time we hit the stage together as
Yeah.
Garage League 4 years ago.
Okay, so prior to the performance, like how long had you been getting together in that time frame?
Long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and I go way back, but we started this one. This is kind of like we just started as like hey, what are you doing? Let's just write some songs and
It's around the time I met my wife. So around 2010, really.
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we were just at first the intent was to, just hang out and write songs. We had been in bands together since I don't know,
1989.
Yeah.
I joined Direct Action. He was playing. No, I joined Upper Hand, just a side project he was doing. His main gig then was Direct Action. And then I joined Direct Action.
Yeah.
And then, And then in the late 90s, we played in a band called Atom Panic.
Yeah.
For like 2 years. It was called like a noisy indie rock kind of band.
Yeah.
And so we go way back. And then Mike just sort of wandered in off the street one day. Turned out he could play bass.
It was
Well, actually
Pretty cool.
It was. I was watching just earlier today a few minutes of your conversation with John Roman.
Ah,
It was
yes.
John Roman, who I've known since the early '90s. I used to see him at the Beehive on the South Side all the time. Just became friends with him through that and through like the indie rock scene because he was everywhere. He's like freaking.
Still is.
He's Pittsburgh indie rock Zelig. Like he's connected to everybody and knows everybody, and had kind of just reconnected with him. This was about 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. And he was like, so I know these two guys that have been kind of writing songs together and they're looking for a bass player. They've been trying to get a bass player to stick. And I had been getting back into it. And
Well, that's
that
because
was it.
John
That's
and
how I wandered in off the street.
John and I had been together and writing and all these songs. He has a backlog like you wouldn't believe, and we start pumping stuff out. We're like, well, we should get a bass player and a singer, and And we were getting frustrated because every time we'd see somebody, they'd be like, well, how's it going? And we're like, well, yeah, everything's falling through,
Sure.
And so we saw John Roman at a Direct Action. We got together and did a show at one point, and we were complaining to him, and he was like, oh, I know somebody, and it was just a perfect fit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The one thing that's like kind of a bummer about, I guess life in general, but like the longer life goes on, the harder it is to like make friends and find like genuine connections.
Yeah.
And like, I'm starting to get to this point where, I'm just going to hypothesize that I'm a little bit younger than everybody else in the room right now. Just based off of the time frame that you said that you were playing in bands and things like that. And that's cool. That's super chill, right?
Yeah.
But, so I'm 38 years old. So just to put that out there. But like I got to this, the record fell.
Yeah, the record's like, oh.
I'm at this point now, and it started to kind of happen, honestly, even like when I was like probably in my late 20s, where I started to notice where it's like me and my bands are like consistently like the oldest people in the room when we're playing shows.
Yeah.
And like, you get through that thing where it's like, okay, I'm at the point now where it's like all the fun shows are like the Oakland house parties. But now I think I'm well past the point of it being okay for me to be in a basement with a bunch of underage kids drinking. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then like, you play shows and like, again, like I have so many young people on the podcast and I've played shows with their own bands and there's a lot of great young talent in the city,
Oh, yeah.
but it's hard to like connect with them. And especially too, if you're like trying to like build a band and find people, not that there's anything wrong with playing with young people, but it's just hard to like make those connections to like find people that you want to like work with and hang out with that you can really gel with, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, cool that worked out. And it's awesome that there's still people like John Roman who is like still playing in like 7 bands somehow. I don't know how the fuck he does it.
Yeah.
And like, he's always like, every time I see him, we'll sit and talk for like an hour somehow, and like really great dude. And definitely well connected, as you said.
Yeah.
And like that really, really helps.
So, thanks again, John. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks to John Roman and fuck you to Paul Neal. I wonder if those.
No, wait, we're recording with Paul again.
I wonder if those two have ever met. That would be it'd be cool to get those two in a room to have them talk with each other.
John comes to our shows.
Yeah, I feel like they
a
had
lot.
to.
I mean,
have met at
because
some
John's
point.
a solid dude, and John is the dude who comes to your shows.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All hail
He's a
John
good
Roman.
dude,
Yeah, every once in a while I have these like thoughts about like different people in the scene who I consider to be like kind of like pillars in one way or another. And I would say that John and Paul are both pillars in their own respects.
Oh, yeah,
but I can't say I've ever seen the two of them in the same room together. So that would
you're
be-
saying they're the same person?
Oh, maybe.
Oh no.
So possibly, but I don't know.
Ooh, Shyamalan twist.
Yeah, maybe they know each other. Maybe they've talked. If not, then you guys should hang out. I'm sure that there's a good chance that both of them are probably watching this right now.
Now they'll be in a band together because Paul's in like 7 too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they can start another band together. So the beginning stages of Garage League would have been the two of you, just guitar and drums. You weren't doing vocals yet at the point. You brought in bass player, and then were you still not doing vocals? How long did it take for you to kind of decide to start doing the vocals?
Simultaneously, I think, pretty much. Close. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty close, but
We tossed around a few different ideas.
Yeah, I think we always, at first, we always thought, let's keep pursuing one. Because John, he never sang in a band before or anything like that. So it was obviously a hard transition. We tossed that around early on, but then, his voice is unique and he's doing a bang up job at it. So would never change it now. Yeah.
When I was a guitar player, I could do backups okay, like halfway believably, but playing bass and singing is like a different thing. So I have tried to sing lead on some of our songs in the past, and I'm just like, it's a different animal entirely, and I can't make it work. So it was just like, I was like,
me off completely.
Sorry, John.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
your
really
job.
weird at first, though, for me, because some of the songs we did were not written with me thinking I'm going to be singing on them. So I'm playing these guitar parts. I think it's a pretty cool one. I'm like, hey, it's pretty cool how I go from that, E minor to an F major 7, you know, that's pretty unique the way I'm doing that. And then I have to sing while I'm doing that. And I'm like, well, wait, my fingers are moving. How do you, what? The one good thing about my playing though is like, I do a lot of like economy of motion rather than locking my hand to a power chord and like moving it all around the neck. I keep it in one place a lot and I change the chords just by changing a few notes and things.
Sure.
And I don't have to like look down while I'm singing, you know?
Yeah. And
So-
I'm also sure too that like now that you are, well, I shouldn't say I'm sure. I should ask you a question instead of assuming your fucking feelings, right?
Okay.
I would imagine that once you started doing vocals, that possibly changed your approach to songwriting in terms of playing guitar? Or have you not really have you tried to start writing songs differently, thinking about the fact that you're going to be singing now, or do you not worry about it?
Yeah, I do what you said. I think about it because, you know, I'll come up with a good riff and I'll be like, okay, that could be the verse. And then I think, or maybe it can't be the verse because I can't do that. And so that becomes the intro. And then I make the next part the verse. And that's the part where I just let a chord ring out or something, you know?
Sure.
But I also like for our songs to have things like stops and parts where instruments drop out and things like that. So that works great for that because I think, oh, this is great. I won't do anything for the first half of this song.
Mm-hmm. Just
You
let
know.
the bass and drums
It's
handle
been
it.
getting increasingly more often.
Or I do the same thing with the other guys. I'm like, okay, so your part is do nothing until we get to like the third chorus and then you guys come in.
I'm waiting for hey guys, we never did a song where I didn't play at all and just sang.
Uh-huh.
No, it's the other way
We could do a
around.
20-second.
I don't know if I told you I have a song planned for the next record where it's just me.
Okay, well that's all for
And
it.
it's like,
Mhm.
we'll come up with a live arrangement, but for the recording, it'll just be me.
A Take 5 song.
Yeah, it'd be great.
love it.
You guys can just chill.
I love it.
I like that idea a lot.
I like breaks. I like naps.
Yeah.
Took one today.
Yeah.
Naps are good.
What's that one new song we have? It's Black and White UFOs. Starts out with him on drums. Then he comes in on bass. And I'm like, this is great. I'm doing nothing. And then finally I start singing, but I'm just sort of, it's almost like a speaking, singing kind of thing. So it's like very low effort. And that's like the first verse, you know, but you know, it's like intro, those guys. And first verse, me doing this real easy thing.
Can I
And then finally I start playing some notes and stuff.
can I bring up the vocal comparison that you get that you don't necessarily like all the time?
B-52s? Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, like the song, first noticed it in the song Killer Robot Goes Surfing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a part where I sing the word wave like 3 times. And I think I'm singing it like wave, you know? Then I listen to it and it's like, wave.
Yeah.
Hey,
wave.
hey, nothing wrong with Fred Schneider.
Nothing at
No,
all.
nothing at all.
I don't know if that's
Saint
correct.
Fred Schneider.
I think there's probably things
I
wrong
think
with him.
I
There
would
might be-
say,
Not that I would hold those
earlier.
things against him.
I would say, I've said before that the yin and yang of my soul is 50% Fred Schneider and 50% Rob Halford.
There you go.
You should hear me try to sing Dissident Aggressor. I do that in the car every time it comes around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now do Dissident Aggressor as
As
Fred Schneider.
Yeah. Well, like I said, like unique voice, right?
And
You know,
also, I mean, at least, we would say, in Once Upon a Time, not anymore, but I would say probably like the first 2 B-52 records are really good examples of what I would have considered like modern punk at the time for what they were doing.
yeah,
For
It was
sure.
very like
Yeah.
counterculture to what like punk had become.
Yeah.
But I still think aesthetically, like those are really cool, like post-punk albums.
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think like new wave and post punk were like they were on rails. They were on parallel
Yeah, yeah.
rails, like
Totally.
doing the same thing.
I think that like it was just like in a lot of ways it seemed like the only thing that gave a band one label or another was what color shirt they wanted to wear.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all in black.
So there's that. But yeah, a lot of that stuff is cool. And when I was listening to this stuff, it's actually pretty cool to know that you have a relatively newer angle to like doing vocals for the band, because I think that the voice does sit really well and it feels like very intentional and like it is what it should be.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that I would personally want like another vocalist or to hear like a different style of vocalist on the material. I think it actually gives it like a pretty unique spin, which is really cool.
Good.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
Like, you know, like
I'm just trying to get by. And then I listen back and I'm like, I gotta admit, that sounds all right.
well, I think too,
as soon as he started doing it, it was kind of like, yeah, this is how it
It
should have
fits.
been the
It
whole
just
time.
fits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once in a while,
Thank you.
Derek's
also.
like, well, Mike, maybe you could sing that part. And I'm like, no, that's my thing. What are you talking about?
yeah,
I'm just trying to help you out. Like,
We go in the studio and it's like, okay, there's going to be these background vocals. And it's like, and Mike and Derek are like, okay, which ones do we do? It's like, well, you guys just listen. I'll do this.
yeah, because there was that one song you were like, you guys are going to do it there, are you? I'm like, yeah, we are.
But then I did it and then you followed my lead.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I'm like, well, let me just record it to show you
Yeah.
how it goes. I think we both wound up on the record.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's like you and me. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
even remember. That's
Turns
how,
We're
out,
already focused
how
on
much
the
we
next
care
one.
about that. You know, it's like whatever. Whoever's on there is on there.
Yeah,
Like-
I mean, it's the funny thing about like recording music is that like it doesn't really like matter. It's not super necessary for it to be like super duper perfect or to like have all this extra stuff. It's just kind of fun to do it
Yeah.
in the moment and to hear it and be like, oh, it's like a really cool, fun, produced, realized version of like what
Yeah.
this song is, and it's cool to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you should go into it anyway. Like I've certainly gone into it the other way, right? And gotten too dialed in on the final product and not kind of thought about it as
Oh yeah.
as like just putting down the song as it is, but like
Yeah, it's
getting too
You get a lot of the best stuff by
Figure.
accident.
Yeah,
You know,
for
like
sure.
we have a side project going on with a friend of ours and I'm playing bass on that. So I was like adding a bass track to a demo recording at home like 3 days ago. And as I'm playing, like my sock is sticking to the floor, it's sticking to the carpeting, and I'm playing and I'm moving my foot around and everything.
maybe time to change your
And,
socks.
you know, no, when you buy a instrument cable and they give you that little Velcro thing that you throw away or just throw somewhere and the cat plays with it or whatever, that thing was stuck to my sock and it was sticking to the carpet as I'm playing. And then as soon as it gets to the end of the song, you hear me on the tape going, what is stuck to my sock? And it's like, and I play the thing back and I forgot I said that. And then that was the best part of the song. So it's like, if we ever record that song in the studio, we're probably going to have to dub that line on because
sure.
it doesn't sound right without it now.
It will most likely be the song title.
Stuck to my sock.
It's a good album or a good album title as well.
It is.
What's stuck to my sock?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. I get maybe I'm taking it there myself.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
are.
Maybe
I
you
don't know.
for another band. I don't know.
I think that was a Gigi Allen B-side.
Yeah. Certainly. With the band now, you have a fully realized album that you've put out somewhat recently.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're going to be recording with Paul again soon.
Yeah.
Right. So you're writing songs, you're playing shows, you're putting out records. It's a far step up from the open mic at the Oaks Theater or
Yeah.
whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So how are you enjoying being an active band in the Pittsburgh scene now in 2024, especially given the fact that you have experience with, the music scene going back, decades at this point. So you've seen like all different kinds of pockets and all different kinds of venues and scenes and promoters and things like that. The only constant that we probably still have is Manny Thiner. Not that we need to have a conversation about Manny Thiner.
That
Just
is
saying.
true.
Just curious, like what's it like? How do you feel about it now? Does it feel like different? I guess that's my question. Does it feel like it's really changed all that much, like aesthetically, or is it kind of the same, but with different buildings and different bands?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, for my part, I'm just really happy I can be doing it at this point in my life.
Sure.
So
definitely.
this is like, picture yourself in 20 years, and you're still doing that, Like, I mean, do you see yourself doing that in 20 years, when you're 58,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I never even really thought about it when I was 38. I was just like, whatever, right? But now I'm like, well, yeah, it's like, just feels like what you should do.
Yeah.
And some people get out of it, like speaking of John Roman, like a friend of his told him, like he asked his friend, like, why'd he quit? Why isn't he playing in bands anymore? He said, I just got tired of dragging heavy stuff around for like no payoff. And I'm like, just doing it is the payoff to me, you know?
Sure.
I mean, it's nice if people like it and you sell some t-shirts and records and things and get to make records, but just doing it, I think, is the payoff. And as far as it being the same or different, it's one of those things where, yeah, it's the same and it's also different. So,
yeah. You know, I
it
think
goes both ways.
I would say it's one of the reasons I think that it can be a little different now than some of the experiences. Early on, it seemed like there wasn't that many bands, you know, when we first started, at least in our, you know, the hardcore punk, you know, there was, so you got some decent crowds and stuff like that. But now it's, you know, it's been watered down. You got people playing everywhere and doing stuff. And, you know, it's really different in that aspect. But I do feel that Pittsburgh right now has a very, very vibrant, like healthy underground music scene. Like there's a lot of great bands coming out of Pittsburgh right now. You know, so that's how it's different for me. I don't think there's been this volume that I remember of good bands.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I you know, I could say it's been interesting for me just because like I've been playing in bands now since I was like, I guess like 16. So like more than half of my life now at this point. So I've even kind of like gone through the cycles of different things. And I remember being a time where it was like so much harder to get shows, or like things seemed to be a little bit more gatekeepy. And then there was a time frame where there was just nothing going on at all.
Yeah.
Now it's a point where it's like, you know, before I even think about booking a show, I'm like going on like Facebook and every venue's Instagram to make sure that there aren't already 3 other shows booked that same night.
Yeah.
Cause it's like, that's usually like the common case now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's impossible to find a night where there isn't already stuff going on.
And that's exactly
it's like, you know,
what we
you can't get people to play because they already have other gigs and all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like shit. Like,
Which
cool.
kind of a problem you want to have
Yeah.
in a
that's true.
city. Like
It is.
it almost feels like a big city, a little bit, like, or a city with a big scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like it's a deeper field than it used to be, and it feels like there are actually venues. I don't know, but I feel like we're at a place where we have a couple venues where we play a lot. It would be nice, like,
Well, there's some people doing some good stuff. Green Beacon Gallery in Greensburg.
Yeah.
That's a great venue.
super fun to
I mean,
play there.
and they're having some good bands, some good crowds coming in and stuff. So
Yeah,
they're doing good stuff, you know.
yeah. That place is
Yeah.
like, that feels like a home away from home.
So when you see that
Outside of
stuff, you
Pittsburgh,
know,
yeah. Love
where
it.
they're, you know, young kids like just getting into the music and stuff, that's good to see. You know, I haven't seen that in a long time. You know?
Yeah, that's the thing that's fun about going out and doing shows at Green Beacon is that it feels a lot more like the way that I felt when I was discovering the local music scene. Like it still feels like that out there because you have an environment where like, even though it is close to Pittsburgh, and I would still call it like a Pittsburgh adjacent venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that go out to there, like that's like really the only thing that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's other small places in that area that do shows, but they're not all going to be doing a show at the same night.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm pretty sure there's like easily like every time I've either gone to a show or played a show at the Green Beacon, like I already can like think of like 5 to 10 people that I know I'm going to see there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what bands are playing, what style of music it is. They're just there to hang.
Yeah.
And that's so
They're-
cool.
Yeah. I can think of like suburban places that I used to know. And I know there were places out in Greensburg, out east that were like that. But like I was just out in the South Hills a few weeks ago and drove by Coal Valley Road and thought about the Lithuanian Club that some of your viewers perhaps might remember. That was where like, John Roman was there probably with some of his, I know he was there at shows. I think I left town before, I moved away before the 1985 was playing around.
Yeah.
But I certainly played out there with a couple of my early bands back in early 90s, but like saw a million bands out there. Hurl played out there and 210 played out there and Liquid Brick played out there. And out of Liquid Brick came like Creta Borgia and Teddy Duchamp's Army and like Voice in the Wire and
I think maybe Davenport played out there.
Davenport. I'm sure Davenport.
I think we played with the VSS there.
Yeah, I bet 10 Feet Tall probably played out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, Davenport. I was trying to remember.
Okay, fine. Smack me off the rim. Fine.
Well, I'm trying to remember some of these places we played that were like VFWs or something.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember.
Yeah.
Because maybe we played there once and then we didn't go back for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But there are still places like that. Ormsby is kind of a place like that that's a little bit more solid and stable, almost seems like, that's like the Lithuanian club was like, had to be rented out from the actual Lithuanian club.
Yeah.
And like eventually vowed never to have shows ever again because of the chaos.
Yeah, there were so many places like that when I was coming up into the scene. We had Giorgio's Banquet Hall on Electric Avenue down in East Pittsburgh, kind of in that like Turtle Creek Valley area.
God, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, and it was like a pizza shop on one side and a banquet hall thing on the other side. And like, they were doing shows there. Like when I was in high school, I saw like some wild grindcore shows there and stuff. And then like, towards the tail end of me going to high school, we started like playing bands. Our bands were playing there. But then it just got to this point where like one day they just decided like enough was enough. And they were like, sure, like, we'll rent out the hall to you, but the rent's like double or whatever, just they just wanted too much money. And then it's just funny with like the snap of the fingers, like this pizza shop owner just completely killed a scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because like that was the thing about that place was like a lot of those, that just doesn't listen up. A lot of those bands that were a part of that, like, I don't know how many of them continued to do stuff after that kind of dissipated. And it wasn't even like, maybe it was just kind of like a weird thing where it was a coincidence that like that kind of that scene at the time that would have been like, let's say like the MySpace era, the 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, like that half of a decade there. Maybe it was just the thing where like it was the people in the bands that were just kind of like finishing high school, getting out of high school, going to college, and all of a sudden it's like, well, maybe I don't want to be in a band, maybe I'm moving and all that stuff. There's always that cycle of those late teens and early 20s type bands. And then there's like out of those, there's the few freaks that decide they're going to keep doing this until, until drag me off the stage.
Yeah, but, someone like that just shutting a place like that down, that could have been like just like one more little nail, shut things down.
All the bands that came out of the Lithuanian club kind of like aged out into, and then we were playing in Pittsburgh then. We were like, those bands had gotten a little bit more legit or had broken up and formed other bands. And, so we had kind of like graduated out of there.
Yeah, you get that. Yeah, you get that too, where you have like the bands that have been in it for so long. And I'm not saying that this is what you were saying, but I've noticed this where like some bands after a certain time feel like they've like paid their air quote bullshit dues and like they shouldn't play like the small places anymore. I totally get that, but it's also like, and I've been in that position too, where it's like, okay, well, I don't want to play these fucking rooms where it's like, just like a shitty PA in the corner and there's no stage. It's like, like we're like a big rock band and it's like it should be presented as such, right? Yeah. But then it's like, okay, now all of a sudden it's like, why are we only playing one show a year? Right. Just like waiting for like, big ticket man to give us the opening gig for somebody at like Mr. Snow's or whatever, And it's just like shit, like, that's actually what it was about. It was at the time it kind of sucked, but I guess you don't know what you got till it's gone. Yeah. And now it's like, I'm kind of 360 back to where I'm like, I'll play any place. I really don't care. Like, are you cool? Am I gonna get like electrocuted playing here? Yeah, okay, cool. Then fine, we'll make it work. I don't know exactly. Yeah, I'm coming back to that point too, where it's like, it's just set up and play. Like, who cares? Yeah, sometimes you get in a situation where it's like, one band that was going to play first is thinking they maybe play second, or
And the other band, like, they want to play last, and it's like, I'm like, well, they're first, but okay, sure, like, whatever. We'll play, and then, we don't care. Everyone's got their thing. They don't want to open the show, and it's like, whatever. Okay. I remember that, like, the drama and arguments that used to come from this, and, like, just like, I remember, like, being on tour once, and, like, there being almost a fight between two other bands. Not my band, but, like, between two other bands. One band I've been on tour with, and one band that was, like, the local band there, both of whom I had friends in, and I had to be the go-between, like, literally going between their bands, and, like, brokering a peace between these two bands so that they wouldn't, like, fist fight over the set order that night. Yeah. Because, like, the local band felt like they got to headline because they were local, and the touring band was like, no, we're touring, and we're a national band, and we're, like, more prestigious. And they were going to fight. They were actually going to fight over it.
It's so funny because, like, now, especially in, like, we'll say, like, the lower mid-tier kind of DIY touring thing, the thing that always happens when we have, like, we find ourselves playing with the touring band is that the touring band always wants to, like, either open or play in the middle. Right. And they want the local to headline so people stay and watch them.
Yeah. That's what happens now.
Yeah, and I get that. I mean, a lot of the times, like, these shows are, the order is usually picked mostly by who's ever setting it up. Right. And I would, like, if it's me setting up or, whoever, if someone has a request, we're pretty easy going. Like you said, we don't care. It's whatever. I mean, the touring band, I agree, like, give them that middle spot where you have maybe the bulk of the audience. They gotta try to pay for their travel.
Yeah, I'm very much not somebody who is concerned at all with when my band plays on a particular lineup. It's like, it's not like this is some situation where it's like the speakers are going to sound different or the lighting's going to be better. It's like,
it was like, well, I think in those days it was like how many people were going to be through the door and, like, seeing you. Totally, and it was like we were arguing over, like, 3 more people walking through the door and seeing, like, that fucking like David Geffen is going to walk through the fucking door that night.
He'll be the 4th person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think for me, it's just like, if you're in a position where you're in a band and you're playing shows, you have the audacity to put yourself out there to be like, hey, we're playing a thing and we're expecting people to come. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get people to come, you kind of have to be able to, like, have enough, I don't know if pride's the right word, but just be like, okay, nobody here came for us.
Yeah.
And if we're playing to nobody and we're playing first, that's fine. But that's also kind of like our fault.
Yeah.
Like, just deal with it.
Yeah.
And but if you are a really cool band and people are going to come out and see you and they're going to get there early so they don't miss you, great. You can either play first or you can play later. It's whatever. It's just like trying to just the idea of, like, people where it's like, we're just going to get on the show. We're not going to promote it, but we're going to hope that the other people that put in the work, that their fans are also going to like us.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like, go fuck yourself, you know?
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's also kind of fun to play, then store your equipment away, and then just chill out the rest of the night. And
I
you don't have to worry about getting your hands all greasy from the empanadas and all this eating.
I mean, that's like, whenever we get put into a situation where, because, like, I mean, there is the situation with my band Greywalker where it's like, people will come out and see us. And I know that if we do, like, a thing where there's a touring band and we are asked to play last, like, people are going to hang out.
Yes.
And that's cool. And that's good for everybody, except for us, because we're all, like, old and tired.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like, how late is this going to go? So, but it's like one of those things now where that's probably, like, the biggest question that we ask when we're, like, taking on a show. It's just like, what time does this start? How many bands are playing? So we could do the math, because we already know that we're going to get asked to headline it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay, like, realistically, we're not going to be playing until 11. I don't think we're going to do the show.
Yeah.
Unless there's, like, a lot of, because I mean, it's like, hey, you got to check, people have wives and kids and things like that. And it's like, can you cover this if I do this thing? It's more than just like, we're not just like 5 guys that could just, like, show up with, like, fuck all. It doesn't matter anymore. There's all these other things that go into it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
which makes it's not very rock and roll to say, but it's just like,
It's life.
you know, we're playing a show at the Shred Shed on a Sunday coming up on the 12th. And it's
Shut
a
up,
matinee
Shredhead,
show.
Shredhead.
Yes. We
Doors
played
at-
one of those there.
Doors
too.
at 4 p.m.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Love
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Let's
that
go.
place is awesome.
We actually we played.
Can we
the
jump
Shred
on
Shed is
that? I love
awesome.
those.
Yeah.
And we played our first show we played there. It was a matinee.
Yeah.
And I remember driving home and the sun was still up, and I'm like, "This is amazing."
Oh, yeah, so good.
You know, I was like, "This is." You know,
And it works particularly well at that place too, because there's no windows anyways.
Yeah.
So once you're in there, it's
Yeah.
any time of
Yeah.
the day.
Yeah.
That room looks the same no
Yes,
matter what time of the day it is.
Yeah, you're in that bunker.
Yeah.
So
You walk out and you're like, "Oh, I forgot."
Yeah. So,
it's
but I mean, like,
amazing.
you know, like that stuff's cool. I mean, I like nighttime shows as much as anybody else. And as somebody that's sitting here currently drinking a nitro cold brew at 8 p.m., we already know that I'm not going to sleep anytime soon, regardless.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is exhausting, you know, especially when you're sitting through all of those bands. I get like anxiety. I just sometimes just like I prefer just like, just let us play and
Yeah.
get it over with
Yeah.
so I can just like chill
Relax. Yeah.
and just do it. But hey, you know, I'm happy to be able to play
Yeah.
at all. As you said, you know, just please, anytime we get asked to do any show, I'm always very thankful. It just sucks because we do have to like, I don't know if you come across this at all, but we get asked to play like a lot of weekday shows, and it's like a really hard thing for us to do,
Yeah.
you know, and I get bummed sometimes when like a promoter that we really like will hit us up like 2-3 times. And it's like, I'm so sorry. It's
Yeah.
not you, but
Yeah.
like genuinely, like we want to be able to play these shows, but we just can't, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that happens occasionally. Like someone was reaching out about doing shows and it just wasn't working out, you know. And yeah, I do as well feel bad. You know, I try to keep note of like who asked and who we couldn't do it with, so whenever we can repay it or say something, hey, like you want to do a show, you know?
Yeah.
So we try to be real cognizant of that, you know, when we're booking.
Yeah. I mean, weekday shows have to be like, I don't know, there has to be a reason. Like it has to be a good one for me.
Sure.
And this is the kind of thing where it's like, I don't know, I don't mean to sound like one of those, like I paid my bullshit dues guys, but like at a certain point, I'm like, I'm just too old for that stuff.
I mean,
like
yeah.
I'm just too like,
There's been
I just don't feel like it. And I'm old enough
Yeah.
to be secure enough in myself to say like, no, thank you.
Yeah, I've had situations where I have buddies from out of town that are touring and they want to set something up, and sometimes we can do it and it'll work. And sometimes we can't do it. And it's like, yeah, it would be really great to hang out and you're
Right.
passing through. And it's just like, yo, it might make more sense if you just want to come through and take the day off. You might be losing money
Yeah.
if we try to
Yeah.
do the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're going to like book a venue, unless we can find a venue that's really fucking cool and just going to let us, you know, take up the stage and take the door,
Yeah.
you know, but good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like, you know, and if it's like all locals, you know, sometimes it's just like, why are we doing this? It's like, it'd be cool to
Right.
hang out. It's like, I have a house. Why don't everybody just come
Yeah.
over, leave your gear at home,
We
Yeah.
might
just
just
hang
do-
out,
Yeah.
have a couple beers, do whatever, you know, just chill.
Yeah, I
We might
can't
just
say I
end up
booked a
carrying
show.
heavy boxes for no payoff.
Yeah.
right.
And, you know, and like, again, it's not always about, you know, the payoff stuff, which I know, but it's like sometimes it's just like, we've definitely had those shows where it's like, you know, it's a Wednesday night and like the lineup is sick, but nobody's there. And it's like, why the fuck did we do this?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time hanging out with like my best friends and seeing some good bands play. And like,
Yeah.
It's
But
basically
also
like
it's
a big
just like-
practice.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
why? It's like, it's not,
I did that 1,000
yeah,
times. in
the
my
novelty
20s.
of just like playing a show to play a show is like done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
we
what
kind
I
of had a
mean?
show like that. It was a Manny show with Moving Targets. It was at Cativo on a rainy like Tuesday or Wednesday night. And
Oh my God.
I work at Whole Foods, and another guy that worked at Whole Foods, his band was playing there, punk band Misdeeds. And a bunch of people from Whole Foods came to see us and him, you know? So it's like that was like the largest contingent of the audience was Whole Foods employees.
Yeah.
And then there are like a smattering of people there that you know, real diehards who came out to see Moving
See
Targets.
Moving Targets.
But, you know,
And Moving Targets fucking slayed that night too.
Yes,
they
they
were
did.
so good.
Mhm.
But it was like there were 15 people there.
yeah. And like I said, most of them were my coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one and her husband left right after we played because she
Yeah.
wasn't
So-
feeling good.
Thank you, Whole Foods.
So yeah,
And also, fuck you, Whole Foods.
so we are Punk Rock Central
Yeah.
in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I think that I feel like I've known several people that have worked at Whole Foods or
It's a rite
Trader
of
Joe's.
passage.
Or the East End Food Co-op.
Or definitely the co-op as well.
It's
Yeah.
a cool band that's got like at least one member works at the co-op, and like anyone that works at a store can understand. They're called difficult customer.
Oh yeah.
Anyone
Yeah.
who's ever worked in a store understands.
Yeah, that's a
difficult
really good
customer.
band name.
Yeah, that's
Shit.
perfect.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So, with you all continuing to play shows and record music and release it, no plans on slowing down anytime soon. What do you think the objective here is for 2024 in Garage League? Are you thinking about that? Do you have like business plans, goals, or is it just like rock and roll? That's
Get a
it.
second album out, get it recorded and out
Yeah.
this year or early next year. I don't know.
Maybe start a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should probably happen. Sort of a robot cult.
Tax free.
Yeah.
It's got its benefits, you know?
Yeah.
You should think about it.
We're going to worship robots because, everybody's so worried, technology, AI, and all that stuff. And
No
it's like,
fighting it.
no, it's like, I always say, I'll take artificial intelligence over natural stupidity any day of the week, And, people are so worried about all this technology and stuff. And it's
Yeah,
like, whatever.
the
Walking around with a computer in your pocket. Shut up.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
way that I view like AI right now and the way that it's kind of infiltrating the arts is I already know it's going to be a very temporary thing. I know there's a lot of people that are very worried about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I view it in the same way that I remember the whole like trend of 3D movies
Oh my God.
when like movie theaters are doing the
Yeah.
3D movie thing.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that too much anymore.
Nah.
And I think it's going to be the same thing where it's just like, this is going to date itself very quickly.
I
And
can
I
see
think
that,
the
yeah.
benefits of people using it, it's going to wear thin. And I think it's just going to be reduced to like, your local brewery using AI to like promote their,
Yeah.
their like weird little event that they're doing that week or whatever. I don't really see it
Well,
being
people talk about like
Yeah.
Crazy.
AI and it's like creating art and taking away the humanity of it and creating music. And I'm like, so what? You're worried that AI can't create a song as good as like, Limp Bizkit or Korn? Is that what you're saying? Because that seems like a really weird angle to me.
Right.
It's like you're worried a drum program can't play a beat as well as, Ringo Starr, Come on. Let's get serious here.
Are you talking shit on Ringo?
Always.
Come on. Come on. Too easy.
Well, he kept the beat, but so can a metronome. A
Oh.
metronome's not a human being. So don't worry about it. But, the funny thing is, people worry about technology and all this stuff. And it's like, oh, it's going to steal jobs. So I won't use the automatic checkout at the supermarket because it's stealing jobs. So they go to the overworked cashier and stand in that line and they feel all superior. And then they walk out and they sit in their car. They turn their car on and the radio comes on. And what do you hear? Do you hear like on the music, pop music or hip hop or anything? Do you hear a drummer playing drums? No, you hear a computer going. And it's like, you just stole that drummer's job, man.
We'll see.
The guy
AI.
that rang up your groceries is probably an excellent drummer. You could hire him to play that beat and it would sound better, but you'd have to pay him money, It's like, so I just think it's a lot of blah, blah, blah. People just want to complain about things. It's like people complain about prices. And I always say,
Yeah, I don't know anybody that likes to complain about things, John.
well, if people complain about prices, I always say, yeah, remember when prices were so low and we were all happy? We all went to the supermarket and said, wow, look at these prices. I'm so excited. I'm going to buy lots of stuff. When did that ever happen?
Yeah, I can immediately, the most recent thing that enters my brain is a weird conversation that I saw online around the discourse of the prices at Giant Eagle, which is an incredibly Pittsburgh thing to have a discussion
Yes, it
about.
is. Yeah.
And yes, Giant Eagle, I suppose, is relatively expensive compared to other grocery stores, but also I think it's pretty much the same. I don't know. I've shopped at Giant Eagle my entire life. I think it's kind of a weird thing to complain about publicly.
Yeah.
You know, people have been saying Giant Eagle is expensive since I was a kid. I don't know. I don't feel like as if there was ever a time that groceries were any
Just like to
cheaper.
say that. People always say, like, I remember when bread was $1 a loaf. And I always say, yeah, and you complained that it cost $1 because there were other people telling you it used to be 75 cents a loaf.
When it was $1, you were like, I remember when bread was a nickel.
Yeah. It's like, you're going to buy bread. What are you worried about? You know,
Right.
Just buy the one you like the taste of.
Sure. With the album that you're doing here, you said you're going to be recording with Paul soon. When's that? When are you recording?
April 27th.
Oh, wow. That's really soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, we should probably learn a few songs.
Yeah, we've got
Should probably practice.
we're gonna split up. We're gonna do like one day this month, and then we'll schedule another one down the road a little bit. Yeah, split it up a little. Yeah, see how that goes.
whenever you're tracking with Paul, is it like a live tracking sort of situation where everything's multi-tracked but you're all playing together? Or is it like everything's individually like isolated tracked?
Well,
Or a little bit of both?
We live track all
We
together.
live track.
I mean,
Okay, cool.
we do some overdubs, but we live track most of it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause,
play
I
till you
mean-
get a good drum track.
Yeah.
And
then
if the
everything
bass
else.
and guitar track that we played along with the drums is good, we keep that too.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Yeah. If it's not good, it's like, we'll keep that good drum track and I'll just redo my guitar, or I'll redo the last half of it. Because like I said, there's a lot of stops, places where you don't play, and you can just like punch that bad chord
Yeah.
in easily enough.
On this record, we had to do like to fix stuff. We had to do very few overdubs.
Yeah.
I think all the overdubs were all like, or most of the overdubs were just like solos and
Yeah.
leads and like weird
Vocals.
noises and fun
Well, Paul
stuff
had
and
me-
like your little
Double all the guitar tracks, all the, rhythm guitar.
Sure, just for
yeah,
like
yes.
the
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fat production.
Yeah, which sounded good. So that was fine. But as far as, like having to just do like overdubs and trying to do all kinds of crazy stuff. There's only really one song and when I say we, I mean me. One song we kind of went off on, which was one called Can't Do Anything, because I did like the double guitar track, and then I did another guitar track, and then I did some little overdubs where I'm just like hitting like a couple of notes here and there. And then I
Yeah.
dubbed on what's it called? A stylophone. And that sort of doubled for a theremin because I don't have a theremin. So it's like, because I mentioned a theremin in the song, and I wanted like a theremin noise every time I mentioned it. I was like, oh, I can make my xylophone sound like that.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, and I did like one note on a keyboard on that song too. So that's the only
Crazy.
song that was like overproduced,
Yeah.
but it worked for the song, because we weren't just doing it just to do it.
yeah
It all made
overproduced.
sense. Yeah. With the backup singing that Mike will
Steely
never
fucking
do
Dan
live.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even remember if you
Same.
did it in the studio or if Derek and I did. I don't know.
Derek did it in the studio.
I did it in the studio.
Well, I did it
We
first.
both did, didn't we? Or no,
Well, I
was
did
just
it. And
me.
then
I
that
did
was the
it
one we were
with you.
talking about earlier. I did it. And then you did it. And I think he left both our tracks on.
Yeah.
I've never done it. I never learned it. That's why I don't do it live.
Yeah. So it's like, whatever. And every time we play
And
that
I
song
can't
live,
do
I
it
hear it
live.
in my head.
Yeah, me too.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Maybe I should learn it.
Well, you learned the most important
We'll have to
one.
get AI.
The one song had a little gap in the lyrics where we had to put something, and like just stopping and then starting again didn't work. So I was like lying in bed thinking about reading a book, and I was like, hey, I know, I'll just put like a very short guitar solo there.
Oh,
So I grabbed my iPad where I had the recording, and I opened up a vocal track, and just to remind myself when it came to that part, I sang very short guitar solo, and I'm like, okay, I'll remember. So the next day I opened that up. I'm like, okay, I want to play a very short solo there. So I just played the notes that I sang,
Mhm.
and it sounded great. And then I muted the vocal track, and it didn't sound right. So I put the vocal track back on it with me singing that. So that's how I knew the song. So we had to do it in the studio. Did I do it or you do it?
You did it in the studio.
I sang it in the studio.
I sing it live.
But then he started singing it live, but you weren't doing that originally.
I didn't do that
It's
originally.
Like, it totally makes
I just
that
realized
part.
that I needed to start doing it live.
Yeah, it's so good.
And I didn't tell you I was going to start doing it. I just pulled it out at a show,
Yeah,
hoping you would notice.
love it.
I was actually hoping to throw you off in the middle of that song.
No, it's just like, yes, this is great.
John was like, wait, is that in my head?
Wait, stop. Mike's singing something over there.
I was hoping you would think you
You're
were
getting something in my monitor.
Wait, my monitors are working. Something
Well, that's
must be
another
wrong.
thing. Our songs are so short, especially that one's 45 seconds long, that if something happens, it's like, what? Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be over in 10 seconds.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, as the train here is coming around the station here, we've hit our hour mark. We've actually surpassed our hour mark, believe
Holy
it or
cow.
not.
Hey, wow.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun.
What are we saying an hour?
We've been sitting here yapping.
How much of that are you editing out?
Yeah, when do we start doing the real recording?
Yeah. Are we rolling it?
Now that we've got the BS
Mine-
out of the
Why
way.
don't you cut out all the stuff that we don't want everyone?
Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you were hoping to chat about today on this prestigious program?
I don't know. I think I hogged the mic the most. What about you guys?
No, I think
I would actually say I'm gonna give the three of you a compliment right now. It's very obvious that the three of you get along because you all exchange dialogue very well.
Yeah.
I've recorded a lot of episodes. I've had a lot of people in here, and you can usually tell when a band's actually like friends and they get along, or if it's just kind of a different situation.
Oh, we
Or
have
we can
dialogue,
hide.
all right.
we're really
You
good
should
at
bug our
hiding
practice
it.
space. That'd make a podcast. Make a podcast say, they didn't know I was listening.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the cameras weren't on, and so it's
No,
we,
but I
we had to rehearse this, actually. This is what we've been rehearsing for the last 3 weeks.
Oh,
yeah, we haven't been actually playing songs.
no, I think that the conversation was very evenly balanced between everyone.
Yeah. Act natural.
Yeah.
Like, not natural for us, natural for other people.
Yeah. I know. I appreciate that
And we
compliment.
came close.
Yeah. I appreciate that compliment because this is like, I think this goes back to like the difference between, taking like the set order so seriously, like the show order so
Oh, yeah.
seriously when we were younger versus now where it's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll play first or we'll play whatever, like we don't take stuff so seriously, including ourselves, including each other. And like, we're just in this because we enjoy doing it a lot. And I don't know, there's no bullshit, there's no ego. There's no, if we have suggestions, we don't like for each other even. And we say like, if something sucks, if something doesn't sound good, we don't like take it personally. We just go like, oh, hey, let's change this up. And we don't like get in each other's way about it. So like we do get along in ways that like bands that I've been in when I was younger that like we definitely would have crumbled and like we would have like fought each other over ridiculous bullshit,
Sure.
that we just
No, it's
we're
not
like,
worth it.
yeah.
Whatever.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. Let's
because
just
we're
play.
all in this together, and we kind of recognize that a lot more easily.
Yeah, I've definitely been in that situation too, where I've been in bands that I think that, to be an artist, you need to have some level of like passion. You need to really care about what you're doing. But there is also the element of like teamwork and collaboration, especially in a band environment. And that requires another set of skills where you need to be able to combine all of that and understand that the other people are passionate about things as well. And you got to work together for the common goal of making the coolest song that you can.
Well, yeah, speaking about that, collaboration and all that kind of stuff, as far as something that we want to say, like if you notice on the record, you don't see like songwriting credits on there because it's like, the collaboration is the important thing rather than who came up with what riff or whatever. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think we even talked about it before we put the record out. Like, do we put, who wrote what or who wrote what lyrics or anything? And
I think you're right. Yeah.
I just think, it didn't seem to matter to us because, it's the collaboration is the whole thing.
The only time we really
they're all
thought-
Garage League songs.
The only time we really thought about it was when you upload them to digital.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they like ask
make
you.
tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm even texting them saying, okay, well, whose song is this again? Like, who wrote this? Who came up with this idea?
You should have just wrote like Ira Gershwin for everything.
Yeah.
Like, didn't John write everything? I don't know, but it's
Yeah,
just
I know
like-
Yeah, like some of these songs have been around a while, and it's like it is kind of hard to remember sometimes. And it's like you take the song, the one I mentioned earlier, "Killer Robot Goes Surfing." I'm pretty sure I wrote all the lyrics to that one, but it was a while ago, But there's a part in there where Mike yells "Dance Humans" in a robot voice, and I didn't come up with that.
No,
I think
did,
maybe
yeah.
you did.
Yeah, because
And
it
he
came right
sings
into
it, and that's like the key part of the whole song. So if we were putting like credits, we'd put like lyrics. I wrote the lyrics. It's like, well, I didn't write that one. So do we put his name on for that one exclamation? Then it makes it sound like we collaborated, and it
Sure.
seems kind of weird. But I mean, that's what we named the album, Dance Humans, because that's like the key thing. But that's the part I didn't write,
But it's also just like to hit more on the collaboration part where, we're just the ideas that evolve. And that's how they evolve. Everybody has their input.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do this, let's do that. You bring in something, you say, let's do something with this, and then it just builds. So it's hard when someone says, who wrote that song? It's like, well,
Yeah.
well, we all did. Really,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just call them Garage League songs. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Also,
think-
it's easier because there's never going to be any money to fight over. So
Yeah, that makes it really easy.
we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
sure. Sure.
We
There's-
should also point out that Mike did the cover artwork
Yes.
because it
Absolutely.
is a really great looking
Him and his brother,
cover.
Ben. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben took the photo. I made all the paper dolls.
Yeah, those are paper dolls all arranged there, and then a photo was taken. So
Very cool.
Concept,
So well done.
Concept by John, assisted by all the rest of us.
concept by
Yeah, I mean those are all characters from our songs and from like the shared mythology
oh, that's all of us then.
of
Paul's actually on there.
yeah, Paul's on there. John
Yeah.
Roman is
Steve, can you
on
find
there,
him? John Roman's on
sneaking
there.
behind one of the letters. There's a robot with a microwave for a head.
The Tommy Amoeba's on there.
Microwave's logo
Oh,
on there. My brother's actually on there, represented by a unicorn
Very cool.
in a white suit.
Boris Karloff's on there.
Boris Karloff's on there. Tommy Amoeba of Amoeba Knievel is on there.
Paul over there on the right,
Oh yeah,
with the Cthulhu head.
yeah.
Ah,
Paul
yes.
is Cthulhu with the Cat's Hulu logo cap on.
That's awesome.
Oh, and Charlie McCarthy's on there.
Oh yeah,
Almost
Charlie
forgot.
McCarthy
the
himself,
most important one.
the ventriloquist dummy.
Ugh.
And the two central figures are Grot, the robot, and his girlfriend, Clandy. First name Clandy, last name Stroyer.
Put that together.
There you go.
Clan Destroyer.
There you go. Well, you
You got to say it.
well, you can't. I was going to let the people
Figure it out.
figure it out for
But I like to
themselves.
say it. It sounds so good.
Sounds like it's music to my ears.
Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure meeting everybody
Yeah.
tonight.
Great
I want to
meeting
thank
you.
you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for making cool music, still doing the thing, and just being a part of the music scene and like continuing to give, Pittsburgh something worth the Pittsburgh music scene, something worth listening to. It's
Cool.
important to have
Yeah.
bands out there keep doing stuff. And it's always
Likewise.
cool to have like conversations
right.
with people that have been doing this longer than I have, because typically it's the reverse. I tend to talk with a lot of
yeah.
bands that are younger than me, and it's cool to be in a position where I can talk with somebody that's like, what was it like before I was in it? Just because like history is important, and it's cool to hear stories about things of like how things were and hear about the Lithuanian club and things like I don't know about that. I wasn't
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like there's still, there's conversations that I can have with people now where it was just like, what's the Smiling Moose? Even though they're starting to do shows again, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, it's funny. Like there's all these like little blips in history and things like that. So
Well, what you're doing is very important, is equally as important as I would think, is you're getting the word out. So thank you for having us. Jeff.
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, and this is like one of the benefits of doing this whole band thing is you get to come do something like this.
Yeah.
It's great.
Meet
Like
new
how many people get to like
Yeah.
talk in their microphone and like voice their opinions and all that kind of stuff.
You do
And
every
like,
time
hey,
we play a show.
Yeah. But again, even that, how many people get to do that? Really, you know?
Yeah,
It's
no,
like-
I think I think it's cool. I think there's like definitely a lot more to any music scene, not just Pittsburgh, but for the sake of this conversation, the Pittsburgh music scene. There's a lot more to it than just like those little 3-hour windows on random nights.
Yeah,
Where things are happening, and I like being able to do something where I could just like document little stories and give people more of an insight into like how a band works. As I'm definitely like more in this mind space now where like I don't find myself gravitating towards like a particular genre or style. It's more or less like I want to like hear music from people that are cool. I don't even care what kind of music they're doing.
Mhm.
It's just like if the intent is cool and if they're cool people, then I'm probably going to be interested
Yeah.
in the art
yeah.
that they're putting out.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely, I guess for lack of a better term, definitely been like burned by my heroes in the
Mhm.
past, like people that I thought were so fucking cool
Yeah.
that did the coolest, you meet them or it's like, Jesus Christ, like these people suck.
Yeah.
Even though your music's great, it's like you suck. And it's just like, for me, it's just like more about just like actually getting to meet people and why they make the art and find the value in that.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, it's a good thing.
well, that was a big blurb.
That's
I'm
good.
just blabbing over
Good.
here. Well,
You
yeah.
All
just
right,
said.
right on.
I'm going to forgive myself. I'm going. Let me let me apologize for talking on my own podcast.
Wait,
Take
let's
up-
interview you.
Take that space.
Okay, so-
Take up that space.
Well, anyways, with all of that being said, Garage League is the band. Dance Humans. This is available now. Probably everywhere that
Katzulu.com.
good music is
Anyway.
sold, aka katzulu.com.
We're trying, Paul. We're trying.
Or go catch them at a show or something like that. They'll be playing everywhere.
Yeah, Ormsby. Can we plug it? Or I don't even know when it's going to air. So
I don't know when this is going to air either, but you could plug a
We're
show.
playing somewhere.
Yeah, they'll be playing somewhere. And then aside from that, that I'll be back again next week, most likely, unless tragedy strikes. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Brian Sykes-Howell. Start the Beat is the podcast. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the people around you. Thanks for listening. Peace. And we did it. That was a podcast. Yeah.